All right, welcome everybody to The Way It Is. I'm your host, Luca Andolfato, and I am fortunate to have both my children here with me. Michaela Henderson, who you met a while back in a previous podcast talking about nutrition, and my son, Joshua Henderson, who is just finishing his electrical engineering degree. So I'm in Halifax. That's where we're shooting from, the Cambridge Suites on Brunswick Street. And we just finished picking out on sushi from, it was fantastic too, from a local sushi establishment. So anyway, we thought we'd do the podcast here this week and just talk about, introduce you to my children, and who I haven't seen in essentially almost 24 months, 20 months, I think, to be exact. So I was finally took advantage of phase 3 and flew out on Thursday, and we've been hanging out, which has been great. So let's start. Joshua, who spent pretty much most of your year last year online learning.
I spent 3-4 month semesters online learning.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. How did that go?
Well, it was definitely challenging for sure. It was a completely new way to learn. I felt like I was doing a lot of it on my own. Even though engineering is kind of a more difficult program, where you are kind of on your own learning, because sometimes the professors, there might be a language barrier or an intellectual barrier of some sort. But yeah, so the online was kind of just hard because it gave those professors that potentially might have not been the best. I won't name names. Dalhousie is still a great school. But they kind of gave them a reason to kind of just slack off. I had one prof that didn't do any lectures and just posted his handmade textbook that and just said, you should be doing these readings every so often. And then we just had a midterm and a final. And so kind of just gets more challenging like that. You're definitely way more having to rely on your own time management skills, which honestly, probably in the end was probably better, because I developed those types of skills and was able to do more independent work and become better at that.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. And so now you've started the semester here now in September, and you're in class. You're doing labs and everything now. And
Yeah.
what are the protocols, or what's Dalhousie University in terms of numbers, or what's happening in your class setting then?
Yeah, so I have about roughly 100 people in my class. And so the students have to wear masks the whole time as soon as you step foot into the building. And then professors can take their masks off while they're teaching, but there can't be any students in the front row of seats, just to remain that 6 feet of social distancing. And then also as students, we were required to send in our vaccine passports to show that we had double vaccinations.
So you do that once, it's on file, and then they have it?
Yeah.
And then do you still have to fill out a survey or a form, like a scan anything,
No.
a QR code when you go into your class or anything like that?
No, I just submitted a screenshot, and that was that. And then students who didn't have double vaccinations, they had to do weekly testing. So.
All right. And so, Michaela, you're back to, your life changed a little bit. You're back now. You were at a clinic, Coastal Clinic in Bedford, Nova Scotia, and now you are seeing clients in person? Yes.
Yeah, doing it in person and still keeping the virtual going as well for those that are more comfortable.
Right. And now you were also doing personal training at the YMCA, but that was being done virtually before, or did you suspend it?
We were in person as long as gyms were open and personal training was allowed. So I think it was when we were in phase 2.
So when you train people now, do you both have to wear masks and be distanced?
Yeah, when the participant is exercising, they can take their mask off, but we keep social distancing.
Okay.
But I wear my mask the whole time.
All right. And so... And I didn't realize, actually, we didn't realize, Josh and I were driving around on Saturday, late afternoon. He was taking me of a tour of some pretty amazing neighborhoods here in one of the wards in Halifax near the water. And I'm telling you, some impressive housing here. Yeah. That's for sure. This one property that was newly built, which I actually said to Josh, it looked like it was like an institutional building and it was a private residence on, it looked like 3 lots at least anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to him, it had to have been at least $5 million to build and it still wasn't finished. But then we saw a bunch of students walking around with their homecoming shirts on, and they just Dalhousie had their homecoming.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't even know.
Yeah, no, Josh didn't know. But then, unfortunately, later that evening, we saw that there was a bunch of videos posted because they went the way of Queens students and had a big party in the streets
Mm-hmm.
and had too many people gathering, and there's some backlash out of that now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what's happened with that?
Yeah. I will say on the house thing, there's actually a lot more money in Halifax than people think. I feel like I just want to add to that point. I feel like everybody comes
Well,
there.
I think there's a lot of money in Halifax
Yeah.
for what I've seen here lately.
Yeah, it's just always interesting, like even having my other friends from Ontario come down here, and everyone thinks of the East Coast of kind of being the low income part of Canada, but there's a lot more money to be made than originally people think, I think. But yeah, in terms of that, the president actually sent an email to all of us saying how appalled he was with everybody that showed up, basically. And he said that those students who were there aren't allowed to go to class for a week and that they urged them to get tested. But again, there's just, I don't see how they can actually enforce any of this. So,
But did Dalhousie have that you had to be fully vaccinated to attend class?
to attend, you can go if you show that you're negative once a week. Oh, sorry. No, you have to get tested twice a week. My apologies.
Twice a week if
Yeah.
you haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah, I was mistaken earlier.
All right. So, and we all know in Ontario what we've gone through in terms of now we're in phase 3. And as we know in Kingston, those of us that are in Kingston, we're fortunate and that our case count has been low, even now in this the third phase and the Delta variant phase, now the fourth wave that we're in. But I know everyone used the East Coast as a model because you guys were sort of the beacon for what to do or how well you guys were doing. Where are we at with that, Michaela? Is it still?
Yeah, I think I haven't kept up with recent case numbers. I know things are kind of growing around Atlantic Canada, but we were very fortunate. We had our kind of Atlantic bubble all summer, so we were free to travel. We did a really great job of keeping things in check. In Nova Scotia, we just reached our 75% double vaccination rate end of last week.
For the province?
For the province.
Wow.
So we're in a good place for sure. Now, like I said, I haven't kept up with recent case numbers with the Delta variant, but things are still looking pretty good in the central zone for sure.
All right, and because I know in Ontario, I think we're better. I think the case counts are high, but it's certainly nothing like Alberta's experiencing or anything like that with the Delta variant. And just to give you a quick, those that are wanting to think about traveling within Canada, because I know I was, I wouldn't say anxious, but I hate extra stuff. And so, when I booked my flights for Nova Scotia, I had to fill out a safety check form. And then I thought on the form, it actually said I was to take a rapid test when I arrived at the airport. That didn't happen. But I did, when I filled out the safety form, I did have to upload my proof of vaccination, which I did. And then when you land, it was really smooth. You just showed your proof of vaccination to the guy that was standing there, and we went through. So I don't know for other provinces what the protocol is and stuff like that.
And one thing we've kept up on here is our testing. So we're still doing a lot of PCR testing, a lot of rapid testing, all accessible to the public, and that seems to have made a big difference in being able to actually prevent some of the community spread, because a lot more people seem to be getting tested here than other areas.
Right. And I know just from spending, since Thursday here, and we golfed today, we've eaten at a handful of restaurants now, and everyone is pretty diligent about wearing their masks when they need to wear their masks, and once you get to your table, you take your masks off. And I'm actually, it's funny because it's refreshing to see, because I'm the one actually usually forgetting to put my mask on, and the kids got theirs on first. So it's even here at the hotel, during in the hallways and in the lobby area and stuff. So in any public places, you have to have your mask on. But I've noticed that everyone is adhering to that pretty strictly. So
yeah, and that was kind of what got the other Atlantic provinces into trouble. New Brunswick and PEI took away their mask regulations before they had gotten to that 75%, and then now they're seeing a spike in cases. But we've kept our mask regulations in place, and it seems to have really helped.
now you've been in Halifax for how long have you guys been in Halifax now? My gosh.
I've been in Nova Scotia fully since 2016, or the summer of 2016. And then I've been in Halifax since September 2019.
Right. So you like it?
Yeah, I love it, honestly.
So what's the biggest difference between here and Ontario, let's say, or what do you love most about it?
I feel like it's different because when I went to St. Avex, that's where I made my group of friends, and then they kind of all stayed in Nova Scotia. And then also I always knew I was going to Dalhousie just because that's where my school route was taking me. And I don't know, as soon as I came here, I kind of just like the size. It's not too big where it's like Toronto and it's overwhelming and there's too many people because I don't really like a lot of big crowds. Mm-hmm. They kind of make me anxious sometimes. And then it's big enough though that it still feels like a city where it's there's a lot to do and you get every aspect that you can really. And then you drive 20 minutes and you're in country cottage living. So I love that aspect too.
So Josh, I told you previously, Michaela, they both went to Francis Xavier in Antigonish, Nova Scotia to do their undergrad work. So Michaela did human nutrition and human kinetics and then actually got her master's in sports nutrition, right? And Diploma. And then Josh did a physics degree, engineering diploma, and that's why he's finishing at Dal to actually get the iron ring, which you already have, and to get his electrical engineering degree. What about you, Michaela?
I've been in Nova Scotia since 2012, and I've been in Halifax since kind of October 2017. I really like the size. I feel like Halifax, I don't know if I'd want to live anywhere else in Nova Scotia, but I think Halifax is a really great city, really good food scene, which I like.
It definitely has that.
Pretty much all of my friends a lot of my friends moved back to Ontario after university, but a lot of people from St. F.X. Come to Halifax, so I still have a good group of friends here. And I think you can kind of get ahead. Like, if you're in Toronto, it's really hard to actually get ahead and save money and everything, but out here, cost of living is a little bit lower, so that makes it a little bit easier.
And we just got back, Michaela, from Wolfville, Nova Scotia, which is about an hour, I don't know, geographically
it's like 45 minutes from the city of Halifax.
Yeah, but northwest, whatever. Where is it?
Like
northwest.
East. Northwest.
Anyway, beautiful little town, gorgeous little town. Acadia University is in Wolfville, Nova Scotia, but we went and did a winery tour yesterday in the teeming rain, but it worked out well. The rain stopped at strategic moments, so we were able to do that. In fact, I posted, because Michaela can't do any of that stuff, so Michaela helped me post a photo there. But anyway, wonderful area. The wineries were fantastic. And then we stayed at an Airbnb, and I'll have to tell you, it's one of the nicest Airbnbs I've ever stayed in. Not that I have stayed in tons of them, but it was a purpose-built new building, gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment, 1.5 bathroom. King-size beds. The main bathroom was ridiculous. The walk-in shower, all tile floor. It was just amazing. So to Josh's point, because we were having lunch today before we left Wolfville, and my comment was, "There's wealth. There's wealth here for sure, and lots of opportunity." We walked by a couple of real estate office windows, and they do it old school here, where they still have the picture of the house in the window and agent on duty. I didn't go in and bug the agent on duty, although part of me wanted to. But anyway, so it was tremendous. And Josh is right. It's a lovely part of the world where you can drive 45 minutes and you're just in a whole different setting, and you're in and that speaks to, just to tie it back into real estate. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I know everybody's been buying from Ontario and stuff, or even other parts of the country, buying property sight unseen here, right? And moving here. Do you have any firsthand experiences or anything? Have you heard anybody?
A couple friends whose siblings have moved out here, kind of moving back home, I guess. People from here, siblings moved away, and siblings are moving home, buying houses kind of via virtual tour. I had lots of stories of, 13 offers, 20 offers before actually getting something. It's been a pretty hot market. Not necessarily the same prices as back home, but expensive for here.
Yeah, I know my supervisor at my work, he's has his own, it's not really a property management business, because it's just him kind of just trying to buy rental properties and kind of just get a second flow of income. But he's always is like looking at the prices and always on those websites that compare. And he said over the past 2 years, they probably have doubled in price.
Wow.
Over such a short time.
Well, I just reminded myself, the very first winery we went to is the only organic winery in the Appalachian Valley area. And it was called L'Acadie. And the lady that hosted our wine tasting is a family member who, her and her husband, literally in July moved from Alberta, Prince Albert, Alberta, to go back to Nova Scotia, because there was a family operated farm that became the winery. And so they packed up their bags and moved to Nova Scotia. And now that's their life, helping to run the winery and stuff. So it speaks to all of that. So, all right. I don't know. What else do we want to talk about? Anything?
I don't know. I guess I could add to the point of why people would want to move here. It's just a different way of life. I know, ever since when I moved for my first year of university, it's just everything's a lot slower out here. Everyone is just doing their own thing. There's a lot more people just worried about what their neighbor's doing. Less worried about what their neighbor's doing, I should say. And that's kind of also partly why I love it.
Yeah, and you guys have had that experience with Prince Edward Island, and having sort of spent a lot of your formative years on the island, and
nice vibe, and everyone's friendly, and
I have to say that I've noticed that most people are very friendly for the last few days that we've been here. That's for sure. Both wait servers and everything else and stuff like that. In fact, I commented to the kids that something that I'm not used to in Ontario, and I'm sure whoever's watching this may get mad at me, but the level of service here in the food business is higher than what I've ever experienced in Ontario. That's for sure. They really treat it like they want to pay attention to what they're doing, and they do a good job. So yeah. All right. Okay, well, we'll cut it there. I appreciate you taking your time to help Dad out with the podcast and fill in the gaps while he's traveling. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And next week, little teaser, I've got big guest. So you want to tune in for that. It's a secret, but it's you're going to be surprised, and I think pretty excited when that happens. So, all right, thanks everyone. Thanks guys, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.